Welcome to yet another edition of the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback. I'm Dave Ridenour, the Monday Morning Quarterback, and we have another great show planned for you this evening. A lot of interesting things are happening in our area, particularly in the Pac-10, as we're getting into the meat of the schedule, if you will. So sit back and enjoy and relax and watch Coach Mick and I as we break down last week's action right here on the PCTV Sports Network. So sit back and enjoy the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback Show.
At Vlahos Dunn Insurance, we understand what moves people in business and in life, and we use this knowledge to better serve our clients. And we bring the same work ethic and commitment to our business as our customers do theirs. Vlahos Dunn Insurance, providing quality coverage to the Tri-County area since 1994. So call our knowledgeable staff.
Hi, I'm Jim Vlahos of Vlahos Dunn Insurance, and we're in your community.
This portion of the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback is brought to you by Security 5 for all your commercial and residential security system needs.
Right now, again, joined by former St. Pius coach Jim Mick. And Jim, you had a front row seat for the big game, the game that was shown right here on the PCTV network sports stations, and Pottsgrove and Springford, a game that everybody was looking forward to. A lot of connections there, a lot of ties, a rivalry, two of the premier teams in the league over the past 5-6 years. And of course, the fans left there again feeling they got their money's worth. If you're a Falcon fan, you had to be very, very happy. A little disappointment on the Rams side, but another good football game.
Well, if you like exciting football, Friday night at Pottsgrove was a great place to be. It was, to say the least, a topsy-turvy game. You had a couple of imaginative plays. Springford goes back to punt. The punter drops the ball, picks it up, and runs 70, 80 yards for a touchdown. They go in 21-21 at half. If Pottsgrove would have recovered that fumble, okay, Pottsgrove could have gone in 28-14.
Well, we talked last week about Pottsgrove not being as productive on the ground and not getting as many yards when they lost to PV, or excuse me, to Methacton, and in the game that we featured last week. And we talked about how uncharacteristic it was. And I know Coach Pennypacker and his gang got back on the field and worked very, very hard offensively as they put up 473 yards against a defense who takes a lot of pride down there in Springford.
Well, they did it, and it surprised me early because I know Coach has a certain way of doing things, and he's been very successful. In the opening quarter, they're coming out, and Torin Verdone, he's throwing the ball all over the place. Spread formation, throw the ball here, slant here, outside routes there, and they are very, very successful. Verdone rushed or passed for 246 yards. But you know what, coaching? When Coach Pennypacker got the lead in the fourth quarter, he came out with the quarterback behind center, and he went back to his old traditional knock him off the line of scrimmage type of football, and that's the way they love to play. But the coaching staff did adjust, and you have to do what's best for your players, and they did that.
Well, it's funny because you talk about Pottsgrove throwing the ball 18 times in a game, which is uncharacteristic. They like to run the football, but they did show some good balance. As you mentioned, Verdone threw for 3 touchdowns, and Devin Fink, who's had a good, solid year running the ball. Also, Wyatt Porter from the fullback position doing a good job. But, so many big plays in that ball game that it came down to the very end, and Pottsgrove was able to pull it out and win 35-29. And, again, a game that they'll be talking about for time to come.
Long time, and it's a key game in the league because they both Pottsgrove has to play Perk Valley, and between you and I, it's going to come down, I think, to that game.
Absolutely. And again, Brandon Leecroft doing a good job. He's getting better at the quarterback position. Even though he is a senior, he still is sort of inexperienced, not a lot of game experience under his belt, and doing a good job. But the big plays that were made in that ball game were exceptional, and a lot of good athletes on the field.
You know what, Dave, one of the stats that I wasn't a great stat guy, but one of the stat that I always looked at was third down efficiency, both on offense and defense. When they have the ball and I'm on defense on third down, how many times do I stop them? Was it long yardage, short yardage? And then you reverse that and go to offense. How many times on third down did I make the first down, whether it was short yardage or long yardage? And Pottsgrove, especially early in the game, made those third down conversions.
Absolutely. And again, a big game as Pottsgrove stays in the hunt to try for their three-peat, as they are the two-time defending champs. And each week, Coach, we do have our top five, and this week is certainly no exception, brought to us by the Saratoga Thriftway. And we'll get a chance to look at our top five as PV is still up on top at number one. Methacton in that 2 slot playing very, very well. Pottsgrove in the 3 spot, sort of laying in the weeds right now. Springford at 4, and Boyertown rounds out our top 5. And again, that's brought to us by the Saratoga Thriftway. So get down there and see Joe C. and Joe D. But, there's a lot of good football to be played, and Methacton continues to get better. We had, Coach LaPree on last week with his quarterback Connor Derrickson, and they were a little concerned about maybe a little letdown. On paper, that Upper Perk game didn't look like it was going to be a close game after a big emotional win the week before against Pottsgrove, and Methacton came out and started off strong.
In the newspaper, Coach LaPree said, all I wanted and all I preached all week was, let's get off to a good start. A fast start. Well, they did get off to a fast start. Dante Thomas ran back the opening kickoff 86 yards to put Methacton up by 7, and they were never challenged after that. And then they scored on their next
the first play.
4 possessions.
Yeah, and the first play, Thomas took the next one 71 yards off tackle for a score as well. So the letdown that Coach LaPree was worried about certainly did not come to fruition. And again, you have to give those kids a lot of credit. Methacton's playing with a lot of confidence right now, Jim, and they're serious about making some noise in the Pac-10.
They're going to be tough to beat the rest of the way. He certainly, as we talked about, he has improved that program slowly over the last 5 years.
And, we talked about, I know Rick Pennypacker mentioned it a couple times in the newspaper and talking to him, Methacton at their place on a Saturday afternoon is not an easy place to play as well. There's not a lot of Saturday afternoon games anymore, and Methacton, for whatever reason, whether it's the bus ride, whether it's they're sort of new into the Pac-10 and people don't know a lot about them, but it's not an easy place to play, and Coach LaPree and his gang likes it that way, and certainly an advantage for them.
Some of the coaches refer to that like Clemson University going down in the Death Valley on Saturday afternoon.
Playing in there, real good. But again, another big win. Again, Upper Perk, a young, inexperienced team. Turnovers, penalties, those kinds of things will kill you, particularly when you're still trying to set your own tempo, as Tom Hans is doing over at Upper Perk, and he's trying to instill that enthusiasm and toughness that he did in the rest of the program.
Well, if you saw that game, you saw 2 things. First of all, Methacton has the experience over a very young Upper Perk team. And as you watch the game, there was a speed factor also. But Coach Hans has those kids playing. They're going to win a couple ball games before it's all over.
And as you mentioned last week, when you're talking to these new young coaches out there, get them to run the football and get them to play defense. Yep. 5 turnovers, though, did not help the Indians' cause as they dropped the ball all over the field. All right, our next game that we need to talk about is that number 1 team that we just saw on our top 5, the Perkiomen Valley Vikings. Scott Reed is doing a good job down there. Lost a lot of good players from the previous years. Rashawn Stewart, who probably was the best athlete in recent memory at Perk Valley, is no longer there. He's playing at Villanova, but they haven't missed a beat. They're 4-0 in the league and a big win over Pottstown.
Well, let's give your alma mater a little credit. They did come out ready to play in that first quarter. And at the end of the first quarter, they had Coach Reed worried a little bit. It was 0-0 after the first quarter. And then Steven Sturm got it going. He got a hot hand. And they also got an excellent running back down there, a sophomore, who scored 3 touchdowns on Friday night, and Perk Valley went on to win 42-6.
Well, you know, and the thing is, you talked about a young coach and a young team like Pottstown is, and, you know, they had 9 penalties again. You know, they have to find a way to cut out the penalties, cut out the turnovers, as we had mentioned. You know, the Wise boys are playing well. Gary and Bryant, you know, we talked about Brandon Tinson, whose father is a guy that was a good player at Pottstown and went on to play at Cornell. And I know you really liked him back in the day, but, you know, they need to get some better defensive consistency and getting people to the ball, making some tackles.
Well, you can't get into any rhythm whatsoever when you're getting penalties and fumbles and all kind of mistakes. And Coach talked about that after the game, that our rhythm, we just didn't have any rhythm. And then, as you said, they get the penalties, and that just takes you out of everything you want to do.
It certainly does. And, you know, each week we do have a defensive play of the week. Our defensive play of the week is brought to you by Security 5, security system for your residential and for your commercial businesses. Give them a call. Give Randy Logan and the guys a call over there at Security 5. They will install and take care of everything. And this week is no different as we get ready to check out our play there. I think they're getting that queued up. There it is. Friday night, big play over there at the Springford Pottsgrove game. And here's a nice interception by Pottsgrove as the defender steps right in front. That is linebacker Wyatt Porter as he takes the ball down the sidelines and makes a big play for our defensive play of the week. Again, thank you to Security 5 for bringing that to us as well. You know, we're talking about defense and talking about young teams and young coaches getting things ready. Boyertown and Coach Parkinson playing O&J Roberts in a game that we thought was pivotal. Could go either way. On paper, it's a game that you have to go in there with confidence, saying that we can win this game, and a nail-biter goes right down to the end.
Well, we said it could go either way, and it did. O&J won the battle, but they lost the war. And by that I mean that O&J had 295 yards of offense and held Boyertown to 150 yards. But Boyertown, there were 9 turnovers, Dave, in that game. Too many, 9. Boyertown got 6. O&J got 3. And Hunter Vogel had a good game for Boyertown, running the football for about 100 yards. So let's give Coach Parkinson a plus for that work, and they got themselves a win. As we always said, a win is a win is a win.
You're darn right. A win is a win is a win. And again, it was over at Boyertown on Friday night, and I know Coach Parkinson was happy with the effort that the guys stuck with it. Tom Barr, a little disappointed. He thought his team played well enough to win, but you mentioned the turnovers, and again, 8 penalties. So, you know, all those mistakes, you talk about rhythm, you talk about consistency, and unfortunately with O&J now, they have a freshman quarterback in there playing, Dawson Stewart. So they're trying to build for the future a little bit and get him some game experience. But, you know, with those young quarterbacks, just like we saw at PV, they are getting better with each week they're playing. Stewart getting better each week.
We have a lot of young quarterbacks in the league. You got Stern down at PV, the kid at O&J. And you mentioned the defensive play of the week. The one player from Boyertown that played well on both sides of the ball when I watched it was Mike Murphy. He played good on both sides of the football.
Well, again, they're getting better and better each week. You know, we usually hear from Boyertown Phil, and the one thing he keeps preaching is that, you know, give Coach Parkinson some time. They're all starting to adapt to his system, a little bit different from what Mark Sicily had in years before that. But Boyertown with a big win, and they jumped up into our top 5, and they hold service at home against the Cats. And our last game, Coach, was a Saturday afternoon affair. And Phoenixville, Coach Evan Brisblatt, who's in his first year, with his first win at Phoenixville. So congratulations to the Phantoms and, of course, to Evan Brisblatt as his first win as they come out and really played well and sort of handed it to the Johnnies down there, Pope John Paul.
Well, after all the losses early in the season, Coach Brisblatt was always talking about we preach team. Everything is about team. And it was very interesting to read that when they come off with this big win over PJP, the student body, the coaches and the players, which I thought was nice, got together and they sang the alma mater. You don't see that too much. At college you do, but not too much at the high school level. And Damian DeVito had a big game for Phoenixville. 31 attempts. He touched the ball 21 out of 28 times in the second half. Rushed for 159 yards, And in the second quarter, he had a 95-yard kickoff return. Big day for him.
And we talked about Palabinski before as probably their best player and best athlete. He had a nice 73-yard interception return for a touchdown. But, Ian Brown had been really throwing the ball all over creation for Phoenixville in the last couple of weeks, and they hadn't had that much success. So it looks like Coach Brisblatt has decided to let's go back to some Phoenixville toughness, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. As you mentioned, DeVito did a nice job with his 150-plus yards and his kickoff return for some touchdowns, but they went to the ground game and tried to keep the ball away from Massaris and the boys for Pope John Paul.
And they got Dave Rosati back, who's a good two-way performer for Phoenixville. And Coach also talked about Zach Galloway, monster defensive game against PJP.
All right, Coach. Well, listen, we got to take a quick timeout, as we normally do here on the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback. And after we have our timeout, we're going to check out next week's games as we forecast what's happening in the Pac-10 right here on the PCTV Network Sports.
Fred Beans Ford of Boyertown is located on Route 100, just 2 miles north of Boyertown. Fred Beans Ford provides automotive sales, service, parts, and body shop all in one place. They're open 6 days a week. Fred Beans Ford in Boyertown can be reached at 800-222-0243, 800-222-0243, or online at fredbeans.com.
Score with big savings at Saratoga Thriftway. Our large selection of food, drinks, and household items at great prices keep you coming back. Stop by the deli and order big party platters so you can be fully prepared for the big game. As always, our friendly staff and fast checkout will make your shopping experience quick and enjoyable. Saratoga Thriftway is celebrating our 14th anniversary of serving the Tri-County area, so stop by and check us out so we can check you out.
Hey, we're back here on the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback. Dave Reinauer joined by Jim Mick. And Jim, as we normally do here on the show at this time, we sort of forecast what's coming up in the upcoming games and some little tidbits here as to what we look for in these ball games. And there's 3 Friday night games and 2 Saturday games. So for all you local fans, get out there and support the kids. Nothing better than seeing a stands full of kids, students, and also adults and just general football fans. Well, let's start with our number 1 team, Perk Valley. They travel to Phoenixville and play on a Friday night down at Washington Field. And, Coach Brisblatt now has his guys jacked up a little bit with a big win, and they get an opportunity to play spoilers. They play Scotty Reed's gang on Friday night.
Knowing Scotty as I do, he's a worrier, so he's going to be worried about Phoenixville. And, well, he should be, because they're coming off a big win, and Phoenixville gets them at home. And I think Coach Brisblatt is seeing improvement every week in Phoenixville's game. So you never know. You don't want to hit yourself in the foot. So PV will come in ready to play against a very prepared Phoenixville team.
And I'm curious to see if Evan Brisblatt decides to go more towards that run game, Jim, as he did in that second half against Pope John Paul, even though they had a lead and they're trying to chew some clock. Maybe they found something there with maybe closing the splits down, doing that little old-style football, old school, if you will. But should be an interesting one. I'm sure Scott Reed will have his gang ready to go. Now, another game is O&J Roberts. We talked about Tom Barr and his gang. A little disappointed. They thought they had a good shot at knocking off Boyertown at Boyertown on Friday night, but it came up 1 point short. Couple turnovers, couple penalties at inopportune times. They get an opportunity to get a shot at Pottsgrove at Falcon Field, Rick Pennypacker Field over in Pottsgrove. And what do you how do you look at that one?
Well, that's always been a very emotional game for both schools, Pottsgrove and O&J Roberts. I think the game's at O&J.
Okay. Hank Burnett Stadium.
Yep,
Hank Burnett Field.
Stadium.
There you go.
Coach Pennypacker bringing his team to Coach Burnett Stadium. Next year it'll be reversed. But Tommy Barr, every week, justifiably so, said his kids are playing hard to the nth degree every ball game. They just haven't been able to pick up a win. And that happens sometimes. And Pottsgrove coming off a big win, you never know. But from here, it looks like Pottsgrove.
Yeah, and it certainly does. And again, we mentioned that, the freshman quarterback for O&J going to play in a real big game against Pottsgrove. Coach Pennypacker and his gang will be after him. They'll get after Dawson Stewart, excuse me. And so I'm sure Coach Barr will be ready for him. But that should be a good one with Pottsgrove with a little bit of an edge, obviously, there. Upper Perk travels to Springford to take on the Rams down in Royersford. And again, Upper Perk still a young squad, inexperienced. Coach, your advice to Tom Hines was, hey, teach him how to run the football a little bit, play some good, solid defense. But again, Springford coming off a tough loss. I'm sure they'll be fired up for this one.
Well, that could be an interesting ball game because that had to be a big downer for Springford the other night. And they haven't played that well on defense, and many times they come up and make big mistakes from the offensive standpoint. And Upper Perk, Hans is that type of guy that his kids are going to come in ready to play. And you never know. If Springford comes out with their heads between their legs, you never know.
Well, it should be a good game down in Royersford. And I mentioned we had 2 Saturday afternoon games. The first one, Boyertown comes over here to Grigg Memorial Field to take on the Trojans. Boyertown with a big victory Friday night against O&J. Ryan, a little bit of an emotional high right now. And the Trojans licking their wounds a little bit after a tough loss to PV. Trojans need a win here.
Well, you remember this series as a former player at Pottstown. There have been lots and lots of upsets in the Boyertown-Pottstown series over the years.
After I played, Jim. After I played. Not during my team.
Is that right? That's too far back for me to remember. But I know there have been a lot of upsets. Both coming in off a win. Boyertown coming in off a win. And as I said last week, I think Coach Parkinson's got to run the ball, and play solid defense. Pottstown has played well for 3 games in a row up until Friday night. And I think Pottstown's playing pretty good football. And here again, if you want to go see an exciting game that's not for all the marbles or for the league lead or anything like that, get out there and watch Boyertown at Pottstown.
Yeah, again, Saturday afternoon over here at Grigg Memorial Field. And again, the Wise boys and Tinson and the gang looking for some consistency. I'm sure Coach Grinstead is going to work on his defense this week as well. And then the final game is Pope John Paul. Again, suffered a tough loss this week to Phoenixville. Got to go to that black hole that we talked about over there at Methacton. A tough place to play on a Saturday afternoon, particularly with Methacton riding a pretty good high right now, winning a few games in a row. And Connor Derrickson and the boys, Dante Thomas, playing very, very well.
Well, Coach Graver mentioned at the end of the game last week that he thought they played, which they did. They played very well on defense. But there's 3 phases, as we know, offense, defense, and special teams. Here again, I go back to the old criteria. I think PJP's got to work on running the football and using the clock and keep the game as close as you can till the 4th quarter. But this game, from a viewer standpoint, looks like Methacton.
Yeah, it does. And again, Matt Massaris, who's been the quarterback, and he's been averaging 25 to 30 throws a game, so they still like to put it up. Well, Jim, it's been another good session with you. Got to cover a lot of things happening here, what happened last week, and again, what we look forward to in the coming weekend as well. So we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to come out with the coach and the player of the week right here on the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback. So stay tuned for more right here on the PCTV Network Sports.
Welcome to the office of John H. Greismeyer Jr., where we believe in the value of relationships. We take pride in giving you the assistance you need, where that involves income tax, payroll, or financial statement preparation. Located in Boyertown, we're committed to meeting the needs of the people in our community, and our team of skilled financial professionals look forward to working with you. John H. Greismeyer Jr. Call us or visit our website now.
At long last,
date night has arrived.
and you want to make it something special.
Something romantic.
You've heard a lot of great things about Panavino.
In the new downtown district.
Fine Italian dining.
With a cosmopolitan flair.
Drinks before dinner at the bar?
Why not?
Then it's just us.
Savoring the creations of Chef David Brennan.
What's this?
Dinner and a movie for two.
Only $50?
Panavino Italian Restaurant
Truly is the beginning of the perfect evening.
in the new downtown Reading.
At Vlahos Dunn Insurance, we understand what moves people in business and in life, and we use this knowledge to better serve our clients. And we bring the same work ethic and commitment to our business as our customers do theirs. Vlahos Dunn Insurance, providing quality coverage to the Tri-County area since 1994. So call our knowledgeable staff.
Hi, I'm Jim Vlahos of Vlahos Dunn Insurance, and we're in your community.
Fred Beans Ford of Boyertown is located on Route 100, just 2 miles north of Boyertown. Fred Beans Ford provides automotive sales, service, parts, and body shop all in one place. They're open 6 days a week. Fred Beans Ford in Boyertown can be reached at 800-222-0243, 800-222-0243, or online at fredbeans.com.
This portion of the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback is brought to you by Fujiyama, the total Japanese steakhouse and sushi bar experience.
Hey, we're back here on the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback, and this part of our show is brought to us by the Trophy and Plaque Shack. Charlie Pierce, get down there on High Street and check him out, and also the Digital Works, my man Phil Lang, for all the stuff he does with copiers and things for that. My pleasure to announce here this week Wyatt Porter, number 5 for the Potts Grove Falcons, fullback linebacker, is our player of the week, and of course his head coach from Potts Grove, Rick Pennypacker. Guys, welcome to the show. Congratulations on a big game, and Jim and I talked about a little bit earlier. Certainly a game they're going to be talking about for a while. And Rick, I know you'd like to see them a little bit more comfortable when they're on your side, but it's certainly a game that kept everybody interested and involved in the ball game.
Yeah, well, I think Coach Mick said it right. It was one of those games that just had you on the edge of your seat. And when you're down there coaching a game like that, you're thinking, what's next, and big play after big play. But I give Springford a lot of credit. I have a lot of respect for their coaching staff. I thought their kids were well prepared. But I felt like our kids really bounced back, and that's a credit to Wyatt and his teammates for for what they had to go through after last week.
Well, why come into that game? Obviously, a sort of a strange thing for the Falcons. Not used to losing games, a 25-game win streak in the Pac-10, and you had to bounce back from that. What was the mindset? What was practice like? What was your game plan to get ready for this one?
Well, we hit the practice field really hard that week. Very focused, getting our game plan down, and watching film and getting ready for that game.
Now, are you a routine guy? Do you do a lot of things the same each week to get ready? Did you vary your preparation? How do you get ready each week for a game?
Nothing really, except for the only ritual we really have is heading up to Burger King before the game and then going over Pat Finn's house.
Okay, that's cool. That's good. That's that camaraderie. That's that togetherness that we have. And Rick, coming into this year, you knew you lost a lot of players from last year, and you had to do a lot of rebuilding, if you will, and retooling. Pottsgrove certainly has a great tradition that's been there for years. And how did you look at things coming into the season? Obviously, you're going to have some inexperienced guys in there playing some leadership roles as well.
Well, yeah, we were we had a hard time trying to figure out where we're going to put kids. Wyatt was a strong safety last year, and we were going to move him up and play linebacker, and that was kind of we went to Wyatt and told him we were going to do that, and he wasn't real big on that at the beginning, but I think Jeff Adams talked him into that. But he's those guys, Wyatt and his teammates, those young kids, they understand what it means and how to prepare to win, and I think that's what our seniors pass on every year. How to prepare to win. A lot of people want to win, but how do you prepare? It's a weight room, it's conditioning, it's working out. And, we have a great group of young kids playing for us right now, and hopefully they continue to play. We're not where I want to be, and hopefully we'll continue to improve every week.
Well, Wyatt, certainly I know Coach Pennypacker and staff takes a lot of pride in their practices and things, and you are a junior, not a senior, you're a junior. Do you find yourself in more of a leadership role now as a junior than you were last year, obviously, as sort of a new kid on the block, if you will, but what kind of role do you see yourself in that?
Well, we have a lot of young linebackers, so I'm trying to teach some of the sophomores, even though it's my first year at linebacker. I'm trying to give them some pointers and just keep getting the team better.
You play offense as well, so you have double duty to get yourself ready. Do you find that's a difficult thing for you, or do you have to concentrate on one side of the ball more than the other? How do you approach that?
For offense, there's probably a little bit more thinking, and defense is just you got to get out there and play out with your hair on fire.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I saw, Fowler says that you play like your hair's on fire, and that's a good thing. Your coach is an emotional guy, and you are as well. How do you handle all that craziness, Coach?
Let me say something about Wyatt here, that he's being modest. Wyatt on offense plays almost every position we have. He could play quarterback, he plays receiver, he plays fullback, he plays tailback. When we needed a 3rd and 1 the other night, he got the 1 yard for us. He's that kid that we have in our program that, always seems to be able to do what you want. And every coach has one. Wyatt's ours. I could line him up a tailback, and he could do exceptionally well just as fullback. I could put him up as a quarterback if I wanted to. I thought he would do well. He has great hands, and I think transition from offense to defense, it takes a big transition. Now you got to go there and play like your hair's on fire. And as a linebacker, he's got him and Madison, 2 juniors, have to make all our calls. And our defense is not easy to learn, and they've done a tremendous job for us. Just coming in, getting everybody in the right position, and I'm very pleased where these guys are coming. And they're juniors. That's what I'm really happy about.
Yeah, really, I got some more time. Not good news for the rest of the Pac-10. But going into this big game with Springford, Wyatt, obviously you get ready for a team like that. Any special preparation, any extra time that you had to put on? Springford likes to do a lot of things offensively. So defensively speaking, did you find yourself watching a little bit more film this week than normal because they are so multifaceted in what they want to do offensively?
Oh yeah, I probably watched a lot more film, as Coach Pennypacker would want me to every week, but probably watched a little bit extra this week.
That's
and
good.
Just got ready for the game.
Now you make some calls according to the coach, so they break the huddle and you look for certain things, and then you make some defensive calls and adjustments at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a fun part of it as well.
Springford, a lot of these teams right now are running no huddle. So they have to get the call from the sidelines, get everybody in place, and for two juniors to be able to do that. Last year we had a senior, Jeff Adams, doing it, but for our kids to do it this year, I'm very pleased with them. I think we line up most of the time in the right spot. We do make some mistakes.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, that's part of it.
But yeah. I think Wyatt is coached by two very good coaches too, Brent Herring and Preston Moser. Preston Moser went through our program. He knows what it's like to play linebacker in our program, and those two guys do a great job coaching him. And I think Wyatt would tell you that too, that. It's what they do in practice, transfers right on to what they see Friday night, and I think that's a credit to my coaches.
Well, I read some of your quotes, and also that you said he was a heady kid, and he seems to be at the right place at the right time,
well,
and that's a football player.
Jim Mick and I were talking before the show. Excuse me, that they're spring forward, the kid's running down for a touchdown, and he has one kid to beat in his Fowler, and we're like, my headset's up in the air, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And next thing you know, here comes Wyatt down the field, strips the ball, turns around, and one more block, Wyatt Porter would have went 95 yards the other way.
Yeah.
And that you can't teach that. We teach pursuit drills like everybody else, but you can't teach the things that he does, and that's what I mean. He's one of those kids that is always around the ball. Interception on the punt team the other night. Springford tried to fake punt. We put Wyatt in for that play. He never played on the punt return team. He played on that one play and comes up with an interception, makes us look like geniuses.
Well, I was going to ask you to explain that play. What was going through your mind at that time when you see Gibson running down the sideline or whatever for a touchdown, and you're coming out of nowhere and strip him at the 5-yard line? Explain that. What was going through your mind? There's a lot of people out there that saw the game and said, what in the world just happened? And you're the guy that made it all possible. Tell us about that play.
Well, it was an outside zone play to my side. I should have made the play at the line of scrimmage, as I was told on film. I saw it on film. But I was able to get down there, and I just hustled, kept going after him, and I just went for the ball.
Now, you purposely went for the ball then. That was definitely a strip in your mind. I'm not just going to go for the tackle. I'm going to go for the strip to try to make something happen.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's funny, you play for guys like Coach Pennypacker, and it's why you guys are so successful at Pottsgrove. You missed the play at the line of scrimmage, but you stayed with it, and that certainly is a testament to you and the type of player he is. And Rick, you've done that for years. You've always had kids that hustled on defense. Right. You go back to the Michaels and the Demetrios and all those guys that were undersized, that were high school football players that played very, very well for the Falcons, and those guys really made a difference.
Well, yeah, it's our system, I think, with our coaches. My coaches do a great job keeping the kids, focused on what they need to do and play as a team. Our defense is a gap control defense, so everyone's got to play their gap and control their gap and trust their teammates going to be there to help them out. And I think this young group of kids we have right now have really matured very quickly and probably faster than any team I've ever had.
Well, and I guess there was a little added incentive on Friday when you honored the veterans and you did your military thing. You had your garb on. Was that kind of a cool thing for you as well to get yourself ready to see some of those guys that served our country, and you had your camouflage gear on? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a special night to just honor the military and all the veterans that have fought for our country.
I saw a good picture of you out there shaking hands. I mean, I know I run a golf tournament in the summertime, and we raise money for the veterans. And I'm not a veteran, but I love it, and I admire all those people, and that's a special night. That's a special.
Gary
night.
Dorenzo does a tremendous job with that night. He gets all the credit. He organizes it. He gets the guys there. For what we do at Pottsgrove for that night, it means a lot to me. And I wasn't a veteran either, but I think our kids realize, how much people do for our country, how much they sacrifice for our country. And then when you see them in person and see their eyes light up when our kids are going through the line, shaking their hands and giving them little stars, that they could wear, little patches. it really makes me feel good that we honor them, especially when I was in high school. You know, the Vietnam
you
veterans.
and I are Vietnam guys, yeah.
And those guys came back, and no one really honored them.
Yep.
And,
Nobody cared about them.
And I think that you could see, I saw a couple guys with tears in their eyes, and that breaks me up a little bit too, to watch that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like I said, and even when I run that golf tournament, and we have a thing at the Elks Club in Pottstown on Veterans Day, and we present some awards and stuff. It's a great moment, and I think that's an awesome thing that you and Gary do. And you know, Pottsgrove has been on that leading edge on things like that.
This is our 7th year.
Yeah,
our 7th
awesome.
year doing it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it gets bigger and bigger every year, and I was so pleased to be part of it.
And it's neat when you see the guys show up in their colors and their Navy hats and armies and the different branches of service. That's really a cool thing and a great atmosphere for a high school football game. Okay, now you have another big game coming up. You have Owen J. Roberts at Owen J. We'll start with you, Rick. Obviously, you know, it's always been a tough game for Pottsgrove and Owen J. Go back to when you first started coaching, and of course, you know, the Burnatts and the Edwards and now Tommy Barr. So it's a big game for Pottsgrove.
It's always a big game. It's always it's a tough game for us. You know, we literally sometimes don't play well over there. But I think our kids are focused. I think our kids are getting confidence. You know, when you get a veteran team, sometimes they do slack off a little bit. This team right here, I think, just the way they prepared last week, I think they'll come back and do it this week. They learned their lesson last week. The week before, the Methacton game, Methacton was a better team. They were, better coached. I got out-coached that game. Paul Lepre and his staff did a tremendous job. But this week our kids knew what they had to do against Springford, and I think they understand they got to do the same thing this week against OJ. If they do not do that, they will get beat.
And again, you obviously have to prepare yourself offensively and defensively to get ready for this game. Have you know anything about O&J yet? Have you got an opportunity to check them out? What do you see from O&J?
They're a real tough team. They like to run the ball a lot of misdirection plays with their guards pulling and a lot of movement in the backfield.
So you'll be watching some more film this week, again, getting ready for them. Any personal things, goals and stuff that you have set for yourself, or anything that you're trying to accomplish? Are there any areas that you'd like to think you need to get better in for each week?
Just reading my keys that the coach is telling me to do.
Okay, that's it. Well, you're doing a good job with that, and Coach Kenny Packer has to be real happy that he's giving you those good answers. You're going to read those keys, Rick, and he's going to make that tackle at the line of scrimmage, not down the field.
You don't understand. It's a little joke between us because I gave over my linebacker duties, coaching duties, to Coach Herring and Coach Moser. And Coach Moser, every night, Friday night after the game, he goes on TV on the huddle and sends all the notes to our kids. And I read them, and they're just funny as heck sometimes, you know. Wyatt, your key's wrong, your key's wrong, your key's. So.
Right. Now, did you go into the game against Springford with a game plan, throwing the ball as much as you did, Rick? Did that just happen as the game went on? It just happened.
Really, we were down our fullback, our starting fullback, Janasek, the freshman. He had a concussion. He didn't play last week. And Madison Kelsey had a shoulder injury. So the only real fullback we had was Wyatt, and we did not want to wear him out on defense because we knew that they're going to go no huddle on defense, and Wyatt playing both sides of the ball in our offense, we would hurt him a little bit on defense. So we tried to get some other packages in, and next thing you know, Torrin Verdone comes out and plays the game of his life. And I give Torrin a lot of credit. You know, last week he didn't play well, and he was upset about it. We were upset about it, but he came back this week very, very hard. And, you know, he came out and threw some great balls. You know, and everyone's saying, where's that been? You know, I usually say when I throw.
I've seen your passing playbook.
Right.
You know, it's not even this big, you know, but it's funny because, you know, we've kidded you a lot for that, but you've had a lot of success. And I see Palomalo, I see Chestnut, I see the guys that have come through there. And the way your winning formula certainly cannot be questioned. It's been something else. And good luck this week. You know, over at O&J, get over there and play at Coach Burnett Stadium. And I missed it. I had to work. I couldn't be over there for the dedication. And I'm sure did you have a game or you were?
No, I was scouting.
Yeah, but I know you know you had a very you still have a very close relationship with Henry.
One of my
Burnett,
favorite guys.
Mine too. And it'll be an emotional time for you, I'm sure, to go over there and see Coach Burnett field at the Wildcat Stadium. But certainly one of our guys, and you keep the ball rolling and keep things going. And Wyatt, we have a couple of things here for you, so you can remember your episode here on the Monday Morning Quarterback. This is a certificate declaring you the Player of the Week here, and again, that's brought to us by the Digital Works. And then we also have our little mini Heisman that you can take and proudly display that on your mantelpiece and say Wyatt Porter was the Player of the Week here on the Vlaho's Stone Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback for the week of September the 29th. And congratulations. Good luck to you the rest of the way. Rick, it's always fun. You know that.
My pleasure.
And
always,
we'll
always,
be in
always.
touch. And you have a big game with O&J coming up. All right, that is it. Wyatt Porter, our Player of the Week, number 5 for the Falcons. Get out there and watch this guy. He's a good player and a hustler. And he plays with his hair on fire, which is a lot of fun. And, of course, Rick Pennypacker from Pottsco. We're going to take a quick timeout. We come back. The dynamic duo is going to be set. We're going to break down the Eagles and see what went wrong out in the Bay Area yesterday afternoon. Stay tuned for more.
Score with big savings at Saratoga Thriftway. Our large selection of food, drinks, and household items at great prices keep you coming back. Stop by the deli and order big party platters so you can be fully prepared for the big game. As always, our friendly staff and fast checkout will make your shopping experience quick and enjoyable. Saratoga Thriftway is celebrating our 14th anniversary of serving the Tri-County area, so stop by and check us out so we can check you out.
Long last,
Date night has arrived.
and you want to make it something special.
Something romantic
You've heard a lot of great things about Panavino,
in the new downtown district
fine Italian dining,
with a cosmopolitan flair.
drinks before dinner at the bar?
Why not?
Then it's just us.
Savoring the creations of Chef David Brennan.
What's this?
Dinner and a movie for two.
Only $50?
Panavino Italian restaurant
Truly is the beginning of the perfect evening.
in the new downtown Reading.
Welcome to the office of John H. Greismeyer Jr., where we believe in the value of relationships. We take pride in giving you the assistance you need, where that involves income tax, payroll, or financial statement preparation. Located in Boyertown, we're committed to meeting the needs of the people in our community, and our team of skilled financial professionals look forward to working with you. John H. Greismeyer Jr. Call us or visit our website now.
Hey, there we are, this day right now. I'm the Monday Morning Quarterback here on the Vlaho's Stone Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback, joined by my good friend Joe C. The other half of the dynamic duo as we get ready to break down all the action in the pro ranks yesterday. And Joseph, we got some time today to get taking care of business here, and I want to thank again Wyatt Porter and Coach Penny Packer for stopping by. Wyatt Porter, good-looking kid and a sharp kid. Watch that kid play. I'm telling you, he's going to be a player.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you better be careful because it might be the Rick Pennypacker show soon. He's on here often enough.
Nah, he's not ready for that yet. He's not ready for prime time, but he's good though. He's a good interview. He's an honest guy.
Yeah, yep.
You can always get good answers and straight talk from him. He doesn't give you that coach speak stuff. Some guys give you that stuff that you want to hear, but Rick is very, very honest, and we always appreciate that. And he's been very, very good to me. I spoke at one of their championship dinners and stuff like that. It was really a nice affair, and he and Gary Lorenzo do a lot of good things over Pottsboro.
When Wyatt was actually sitting here answering the questions, you could see Coach Pennypacker just grinning, smiling, so proud that he was saying exactly the right thing. I got my keys.
Sure, and his father was over there. His dad was over there, a proud papa too. His father Jake was here in the house watching in the studio as well. So, and again, I want to thank those guys. It's always fun and always have a good time with Coach Mick as we break down the high school stuff. Now, the pro stuff is a little bit different this week. We've been talking some high praises for people. It's been going well for the Eagles, even though they started out slowly in a lot of games and came on strong in the second half. I said that I was worried about them trying to turn things on against good teams, Joseph. And yesterday was just a funny game where the offense couldn't get anything going. Thank God for defense and special teams.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually they had a lead at halftime, 21-13, but the offense couldn't do anything. They were only on the field for almost 18 minutes out of the 60.
Did they even get over midfield? I don't think they got over
only
second.
In the fourth period,
not in the first half.
They didn't pass the midfield.
I know. It's sort of crazy. And I said to you, last week or the week before, I said, thank goodness for Darren Sproles, because without him, they don't have a win. And
him and Jenkins.
Yeah,
him and Jenkins.
They're two active.
Jenkins has 3 INTs and returned 1 for a touchdown. Yep. But that's the first time that a safety has had 3 interceptions in 3 consecutive games since Darryl Dawkins, Brian Dawkins, Darryl Dawkins, Chocolate Thunder. But you know what? I'm a little concerned. Because sometimes I think that Chip Kelly might try to outthink himself or outdo himself and try to be too innovative. And he might be trying to live up to that reputation of, he's
being the offensive genius
and all that stuff. And I'm starting to get a little bit concerned, and especially with the last play of the game.
Well, and I'm certainly in that same category. I think sometimes coaches can even outcoach themselves. They outthink themselves. They try to, really. And I love talking to Jim Mick about this. He still comes down to blocking and tackling and doing the basics and the fundamentals. I don't care if they're in the spread formation or not. You still have the still basic fundamentals of the game, which is getting your head in the right position, doing some different things. And I said it yesterday. I said that spread offense is no good for inside the 5-yard line because the offensive lineman's first move is to the side.
Right.
They go one way or the other. That's that zone read blocking stuff. Instead of firing off the ball and getting into a guy and getting some push, they always go side to side. And I guess Chip Kelly figured that they could not get in, even though if they say they have the best running back in the National Football League, which I will always question. I don't think he's the best. He's certainly one of them. But between he and maybe even Polk, who is the return guy with some girth, that you put him in your goal line offense, at least try to punch it in one time. I mean, you got the best left tackle in football. Can you follow him?
Right, exactly. Go off of Jason Peters.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at. I have 3 questions with McCoy. One is turf toe. Is that really bothering him more than maybe anyone knows? 2, we have. Do they miss Deshaun Jackson? Not at the goal line now.
I know.
Do they miss Deshaun to spread the deep, or for the deep threat to open it up underneath? And the other thing is obviously the offensive line. That's not McCoy's fault, but I don't see him hitting the holes either. It's like he's dancing around trying to make something happen, and there's nothing there right now.
Well, let me answer your questions for you, Joe. I think first of all, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a practice. I don't know what his turf toe situation is, but I don't know that that's a problem. If it is, I'm not sure. Deshaun Jackson, which gave him more lanes. The thing I think probably most Jason Kelsey and He makes all the calls, and he gets that thing started. And Malk did a nice job the first week. Not so good yesterday because, again, he's smallish, and they sort of bum rushed him up in the middle there, and he wasn't able to make his plays. But I think a good coach like Chip Kelly can sort of overcome a lot of that with his play calling and putting guys, what they always say, put them in a good position to win. But I think Kelsey is really the biggest problem that they're going to have, and I'm hoping that it's 6 weeks. I don't know if they can, how they can handle being without him for 6 weeks.
I'll tell you, I really hate to say this, but I agree with you. I agree with you.
Well, you're getting smarter after all these years,
See,
Joe.
I knew as soon as I said that.
No, you
but
are.
No, I absolutely agree with
yeah.
you 100%.
Yeah.
Because the center is the quarterback of the offensive line. And the fact that there's so many injuries on that offensive line and it's so decimated makes it even worse.
That's what the key is.
Now they're getting Lane Johnson back, which is going to help.
Right.
Which is going to help, but still you need that guy there, that captain.
We certainly do. And again, I don't know what kind of shape, if he's in football shape or not. Lane Johnson's been out for 4 weeks. He supposedly has been working out at some place where, all the pros work out in the all season, which I'm sure condition-wise he could be good. But you still aren't getting contacted. You're still not, getting up from that day after soreness that you have to work out of your body. That, I don't care what you do in the summertime in the all season. That's why they have summer camp, because you have to condition your body for contact, for bumps and bruises, for playing through those things. So obviously they got to plug him in. And that makes him better in 2 positions, because now he'll play right tackle and Harriman will go in the right guard. So that helps that side of the offense, Joe. Whether Malk continues to play center, they have the other guy, Wade Smith or whatever.
Right.
He's got some experience in center if they need a bigger guy, because he's bigger than Malk. And then, of course, Peters, and then whoever else. They can move maybe Kelly to the left side or Tobin or whomever. But, it's going to be interesting to see. And, they always have the mantra, Joe, next guy up, and you got to step up and all those different things. But I think you're exactly right. When you miss Kelsey, who is the quarterback of that offensive line, he certainly is a glue.
He's a vital part of it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm starting to be a little concerned with Foles, too. He's getting hit a lot. He's getting beat up, and he was down on the carpet yesterday. You could see he was kind of slow to get up. I'm wondering if maybe he doesn't have a concussion or something that they're not.
Well, don't use that C word like that, because then he's going to have to sit out for a couple weeks.
But overthrown guys, there was a couple times where the underneath guy was wide open, and he's going over top of that to try and make something happen. I don't understand why he didn't. Go ahead.
No, I'm waiting for you to finish your sentence.
But you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
That one pass down the sidelines to Macklin where it was intercepted, the underneath receiver was Matthews, and he was wide open in the flat, and he went over top in the double coverage.
Well, you know what? I call it the Eli Manning syndrome. And Eli, won a lot of more big games than his brother Peyton. Peyton has a lot of passing records and things. Eli has more rings and championships. But the last 2 years, without a run game, okay, and I'm going to give you the Cowboys as an example also. Without a run game, it puts so much pressure on the quarterback to make perfect plays. It's almost trying to watch Cole Hamels pitch, because he knows he's only going to get a run or two. If he gives up a run or two, he thinks he's going to lose the game.
Okay.
So you nibble. You try to be too perfect. And that's what I see Foles doing. I mean, obviously he knows what he did last year. And that record, no one's ever going to touch. No one will ever touch what he did last year.
But
I think he's trying to be too perfect, especially with McCoy averaging 1 or 2 yards a carry. They don't have that. And, Deshaun Jackson, like him or not or whatever, want him on the team or not, they do definitely have to change the way they approach things, because Macklin is not a speed guy. Cooper obviously not a speed guy. Matthews hasn't really been the guy that can push down the field. So he has changed the way they had to make their approaches.
Yeah, Cooper dropped the touchdown, and also a fumble. He fumbled the ball, who got stripped, and same thing with Ertz. Ertz had a fumble as well, and that could have led to some points for the Eagles.
And when you play in the Chip Kelly offense, like he did at Oregon, where they spread the ball around, you might only get 2 or 3 opportunities in a game, Joe, and you cannot fumble, you cannot drop passes, you cannot do that when you only get a couple of opportunities.
Macklin was targeted 16 times yesterday and had 5 receptions. 16 times. That's crazy.
It is crazy again, but like Cooper, I don't know. Get a haircut, dude. Get ready to play some football. I'm starting to get a little angry with some of these.
I don't understand why they gave him a long-term contract.
Well, I think Kelly liked him because he was a good 2 or 3, and he likes size. Remember, he says the big guys beat up the little guys. So he likes that. Right. But each week we're going to have the Big Frank question of the week, brought to you by Doc Watson's and my buddy Joe, who is the research nut who loves to read the paper and dig out all kinds of information. There's our big guy in the middle. Boy, do we miss him. He was the most loyal fan, the best fan we ever had here on the Monday Morning Quarterback, and that was a Monday night game. Remember that Monday night game with Washington, and Vic went crazy.
Went off, yeah.
Yeah, that's a picture down there. There's our guy, Big Frank, and again, want to thank all the nice people over at Doc Watson's for jumping on board with us this year as well over in Gilbertsville. But what do you got for us this year?
Yesterday, tight end Martellus Bennett had 134 yards receiving for the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers.
Correct.
It was the first time that a tight end had over 100 yards receiving since 1961 versus the Packers. So who was the tight end that
in 1961?
In 1961 that had over 100 yards.
And that's
receiving.
a good question. That's a good question and not too crazy. Sometimes we ask some questions that are really tough to get, but this is a good one when you think about Chicago Bears back in the day. But, it's kind of interesting to me. I have all these question marks down here on our different people and different players from the game. They're all of a sudden some things that were pretty good. And it was funny when Jim Mick left, he said, last week Kelly and Foles were geniuses and unbelievable players. This week they're bums. They don't know anything about football. Isn't it how fickle people are and how the game is and stuff, Joe?
Listen, I knew going across country was going to be tough for him, especially after coming off of that Washington win. And, San Fran was coming off a loss, so it was going to be a little difficult. But for it to be 21-13 at half, I'm thinking, wow, what's going on? But there was no offense at all. And I don't think that he tried to do anything different other than what he had set to do. And it obviously didn't work out for him.
Well, I think he certainly has a plan, and I think he certainly makes adjustments. It's kind of funny because we'll talk a little bit later about our former coaches. They play tonight and talk a little bit about him. But I think one of the things I liked about Kelly was that he was a very good adjustment guy at halftime, particularly when he had some time. I'm not quite sure. I guess at the end of that game, the way it unfolded, Joe tells us a lot about what he thinks of the line, because he would not blame McCoy or the running backs in his press conference today. So obviously he was not really pleased, and he didn't have a lot of confidence in his offensive line.
The thing that bothered me in the last series going down was they were on the 2-yard line.
Right.
Okay, Fletcher Cox. Anybody, you know what? Don't you have a package where you just put him in, let him just blow somebody up at the line? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
You say go off of Jason Peters. I say okay.
Yeah.
Or spread it out. We talked about it before we came on about how they rolled out to the right, and I said cut the field in half.
Yeah,
you said cut it in a third.
Yeah, it was a third.
And you had everybody flowing to the right, and just there was nowhere to go with the
in
ball.
an 11-yard box because the end line is right there too.
And two guys, Ertz was on the 2 or the 3 yard line, and he was running across. And if he threw it to him, he was going to get tackled.
Right, the guy was right there. Yeah.
And I don't think he has enough confidence in him for a shuttle pass or for him to actually do a quarterback draw. Drop back.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't. I think he's a Dan Marino in there. I don't think he has that sort of.
He doesn't have that escapability
right, he
or mobility.
But even though Marino had a little bit of lateral movement to avoid a non-rusher and get the ball out, I mean, Foles doesn't have that. I mean, he's more of a statuesque type quarterback back there. And again, I just didn't like the rollout with him because, as you mentioned, cut into a third. They only have 11 yards to begin with from the 1 yard line to the end line. So, I mean, you're really looking at a small window, and you have 4 or 5 defenders in there who all can run at the pro level. Excuse me. This sort of defeated the whole purpose. But I don't care who you are. I think you have to take at least one shot on the ground when you're 3rd and goal from the 2. At least one of those plays has to be a running play.
So you're not going to give it to Sproles. You have Chris Polk. Why wasn't he in there? Why? I'm just asking.
I agree.
Or are you that set on your squad that you don't have a true fullback? I get that too, that you don't have any use for him. But what about Casey? What about Casey?
Well, he was an H-back in Houston.
Put him in the backfield.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, see, that's why I like to have the quarterback line up under center, take a direct snap, and then you can run even out of the I formation where you get to the line of scrimmage quicker and a little bit faster. And, again, the offensive linemen get a push off the line.
Hey, I guess that's why we're on the Monday Morning Quarterback Show, so we could
absolutely
talk about it.
Right. All right, well, we have a phone call here. We got Tommy Reed, one of our good buddies and longtime sponsors. Tom Reed is on the phone. Tommy, you're on the Monday Morning Quarterback.
Hey, Dave, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Doing, Tom?
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're good. We're real good. Real good, man.
Believe it or
happy
not,
birthday. Happy birthday, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Number 60,
I saw you had
Dave. Can you believe that?
I saw you had a big birthday on Facebook. Happy birthday, brother.
Melissa was just showing me. She says, see how many people like you? You got 86 likes and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm actually at the dinner with them right now, and I just remembered I didn't call in.
Okay.
But the only thing I wanted to say, and I'm sure you guys already talked about it, after Scotty's game, the TV game, I went right home, and you know me, I'm a diehard, so I watched the entire Springford and Pottsgrove game to the very end, which was like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Right.
And that, to me, was one of the top 5 of the most exciting games that I've watched in a long time in the Pac-10.
Yeah, well, we were talking
really
about
exciting.
it. Yeah, Coach Mick and I were talking about it earlier. You know, Jim was there. Jim Jr. is one of the defensive coaches for Springford. So we were talking about it. He was there, and of course, Rick Pennypacker was here with his player of the week, Wyatt Porter, and we were talking off air about it. He said, man, that was one exciting game. He said, I don't like him that exciting as a coach, but he said that was a great game to be at and to be a part of, and it certainly was.
Well, listen, I didn't want to forget about you tonight. I just wanted to call in. I can't believe I'm 60 years old.
I know.
It blows my mind.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got a lot of miles left on you, Tommy, and tell that little daughter of yours thanks for everything. And she's just a great kid, and she's doing well, and you're doing well. Your wife is in a real good place. I'm happy for all of you, Tom, and make sure you give us a call because we enjoy listening to you every Monday.
I will, buddy. I'll catch up to you guys.
All right, have a good dinner. All right, happy birthday, my man.
Do your thing.
Yep, thanks.
Take care, Tom.
Yeah, 60 years old he is. Yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah, and he just retired from Piazza Honda. Had been there forever, and they were good, loyal sponsors and advertisers, and just a good guy. And, you know, Scotty is his nephew, and, you know, I'm sure his brother Ronnie be very, very proud of what Scotty is doing, and Tommy Reed as well. Well, listen, Joe, let's take a quick timeout. We'll get a couple other things ready. We have our By the Numbers. We're going to do a little fantasy. My boy Rick Trout wants fantasy stuff, so we're going to give the people what they want. We got our 5-pack picks. We have our game ball coming up as well. Lots of things happening here. The dynamic duo here on the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback.
At Vlahos Dunn Insurance, we understand what moves people in business and in life, and we use this knowledge to better serve our clients. And we bring the same work ethic and commitment to our business as our customers do theirs. Vlahos Dunn Insurance, providing quality coverage to the Tri-County area since 1994. So call our knowledgeable staff.
Hi, I'm Jim Vlahos of Vlahos Dunn Insurance, and we're in your community.
At long last,
Date night has arrived.
and you want to make it something special.
Something romantic
You've heard a lot of great things about Panavino,
in the new downtown district
fine Italian dining.
with a cosmopolitan flair.
Drinks before dinner at the bar?
Why not?
Then it's just us.
Savoring the creations of Chef David Brennan.
What's this?
Dinner and a movie for 2?
Only $50?
Panavino Italian restaurant
Truly is the beginning of the perfect evening.
in the new downtown Reading.
Score with big savings at Saratoga Thriftway. Our large selection of food, drinks, and household items at great prices keep you coming back. Stop by the deli and order big party platters so you can be fully prepared for the big game. As always, our friendly staff and fast checkout will make your shopping experience quick and enjoyable. Saratoga Thriftway is celebrating our 14th anniversary of serving the Tri-County area, so stop by and check us out so we can check you out.
This portion of the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback is brought to you by Doc Watson's, a true Irish pub.
Hey, we're back here on the Vlahos Dunn Insurance Monday Morning Quarterback. Dave Ryan, our Joe C. The dynamic duo, and one of our new features this year. We're going to do a little segment on fantasy football since we got a lot of calling about that, and particularly my buddy Rook Trout said we need some fantasy stuff here. So we're going to do a little thing called By the Numbers, brought to you by John H. Griesmer. Jack is my know him as. Jack Griesmer has been my accountant for many, many years. The office is over there in Boyertown, right next to Seville's Diner, by the way. But he's a good man, and he wanted to jump on board this year as well. By the numbers, Joe, we're going to do a little fantasy stuff, so throw some fantasy at him.
I've been asking you to do fantasy for how long have you been on this show?
I know. Too long.
A long time. Too long, thanks. By the numbers, you'd think, maybe it's, we're going to throw some statistics out there. What I'm going to do is that if you're interested in, picking someone up for your fantasy team, this week you look at Kyle Wharton, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. E.J. Manuel is going to sit. And also running backs Jerick McKinnon from Minnesota and Brandon Oliver from San Diego. These are guys that if you need a running back, you might be interested in picking up because it looks like McKinnon's like more of a scat back feature than Asiata, who's taken over for Adrian Peterson, who's out. And in and in San Diego, Matthews is hurt, and they have Donald Brown. Woodhead's hurt. Thank you. And they also have Donald Brown, but it doesn't look like he's going to be the answer, and they're looking to give the ball to Oliver a little bit more.
Okay.
So, and Kyle Wharton's been around a while. He used to play for Chicago Bears and Denver, and he's not afraid to put the ball up. So
okay, so there's a good report on our By the Numbers, again, brought to you by the Griesmer accounting firm over there in Boyertown, right there next to Seville's Diner. So give Jack a call. Tell him the Monday Morning Quarterback sent you. Also, next week, I want you to come up with a guy that you think is going to have a big game against a certain team, so we can pick one of them as well, Joe. So we'll give you that.
I could do that. I could do that for you.
Yeah, we could do a sleeper and a guy that's going to play. But again, thanks to Jack Griesmer over there in Boyertown. All right, with some of the other things that we need to talk about is this NFC East race now that seems to be tightening up a little bit.
In Dallas,
and that's my point that I made a little bit earlier.
You did make that about DeMarco Murray.
Right, running the football. Taking some pressure off Tony Romo.
Right.
Now he looks good because he doesn't have to throw the ball 55 times a game to win a football game. DeMarco Murray right now is playing like he wants to be the best running back in the NFL.
Did you see they flashed it up there that with the 4 games in a row of not only 100 yards but also scoring a touchdown? It was 6 games was Jim Brown. I think 5 games was O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
And then Emmitt Smith with 4. And then DeMarco Murray last night with 4. That's some good company to be in. And he looked healthy. He looks unbelievable.
Well, that's been his major Achilles heel his whole life has been the health issue,
right.
And he had a little fumble early on in his career, which he seemed to rectify that with carrying the ball the new way up tight. But if he stays healthy, their offensive line is what I like. They had 3 first-rounders on that offensive line. They got a new center, left tackle, and right guard, all 3 studs under 24 years old, 24, 24, and 23. So they have a bright future. And, again, if Jerry Jones can sort of stay out of the way and let, the redhead Garrett Garrett.
Jason
Garrett coached the team. I mean, they seem to be playing with a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, I think he handled the Morris Claiborne thing very well. Claiborne walked off because he was unhappy because Scandrick came back after his drug suspension and took his spot back, and he wasn't happy. And they sat him down. They handled it very, very well. I saw the press conference with Jason Garrett, who's a very well-spoken and obviously articulate guy going to Princeton and all. But the Cowboys, I'll tell you what, and they've only given up like 70-some points, okay?
Right.
And the Eagles have given up 104, and, so
well,
defensively.
You got add in last night.
Well, yeah, and how many did they give up last night?
31, what was it? 17.
Oh, was it 17? Okay, so it's in the 80s, but still 25 points or so less than the Eagles. So defensively, they're playing better when defense really had been a bugaboo for Dallas.
Yeah, well, they finally got rid of
Rob Ryan. Yeah.
Rob Ryan. Now he's in New Orleans.
I know, and he's getting spanked around too. Isn't that beautiful?
He's in trouble
Isn't
over
that
there.
a beautiful thing?
But you know what? Romo looks healthy. Coming off the surgery, and you see him running. What do you have? We was interviewed after the game last night. I forget who it was. They interviewed him, and she's like, "Oh, that was the longest run of your career, 21 yards." He goes, "Yeah." So she said something to him about it. He's like, "Yeah, I'm old." And you know what? He is getting old, but he can sling that ball around like nobody's business. So,
well, it's funny too. I look
somebody
at
watch.
Yeah, and NFC East they have 4 home games this week: the Eagles and St. Louis, the Cowboys in Houston, the Giants in Atlanta, and then the Redskins host Seattle next Monday night, which we'll talk a little bit about. But the NFC East sort of looked like it was in disarray. The Eagles had an opportunity to sort of seize things. It looked early, although I think most people after the first 4 games, if they be 3-1, they'd be pretty happy.
Absolutely, but you look at the Giants too. You're talking about your boy Eli Manning.
Yep.
4 TD passes, 1 rushing. He looked like he absolutely got the offense down there.
And why was that? Because your boy who came over, Rashad Jennings. There you go. He had 160 yards or something.
That was the week before.
Yeah,
he did not. I sat him. I have him on my fantasy. I sat him against the Redskins. And he only had 55 yards rushing, but Eli went off.
Yeah,
Eli went off.
He did. But again, I think the threat of the run game certainly is a big thing.
Sure it is.
And again, each week also we do our game ball. And my buddy Paul Strauss up at the styling room, he's been with us since the beginning as well, good loyal sponsor, and a guy I've been going to for many, many years to get my hair cut. He's a heck of a guy, Paul Strauss, at the styling room at 943 North Hanover Street. There he is. There's my buddy. He's still going at it. We talked about servicemen. There's a good service guy right there. He was involved in the Army during the Vietnam War years. And he goes every year. They have a reunion for his platoon. And this year, I think he was out in the Midwest somewhere like Montana or Utah or somewhere like that and met with his guys. I think there were 70 people this year. But Paul Strauss at the styling room, I want to thank him as well. This week, it's your turn to go first for the game ball.
Okay.
I went first last week.
You know what? I'm going to give my game ball to Steve Smith, the wide receiver for Steve Smith Senior. Excuse me, Senior. Wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. He had 7 catches for 139 yards and 2 TDs. But the best thing of that whole thing was he was playing against the Carolina Panthers. Right. And he said he was running by those D-backs like they were in school. They were schoolboys. So I was hysterical.
Yeah, well,
I was hysterical. Hey, he's 35 years old. And he's looking pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
he's a competitor.
He's a competitor.
So I'm going to go Steve Smith.
Okay, that's a good one. And I'm sort of going on the other side of the ball. I'm going with J.J. Watt. My man J.J. Watt. It's funny. He has more touchdowns than half the good running backs than LaShawn McCoy, Marion Foster, all these good running backs. More touchdowns than Megatron as well, the wide receiver, Calvin Johnson. But he picked off a pass. And did you see the play? I mean, he jumped up and caught it like it was. Oh man! And he ran 80 yards, I guess it was, for a touchdown.
That was definitely a reaction. He was pass rushing. Saw the back come out of the flat, and just jumped up. It was Fred Jackson was coming out of the flat.
Yeah, and what was even funnier was when they were talking to him about afterwards, they were all kidding him about his little dance and stuff. He said he did sort of a half Dion and a half na-na, whatever. And he said, I don't even know what the na-na thing is, but I know what the Dion is, and I couldn't do either one of them, so that's what he did. I mean, to me, he's a cool guy. I like this guy.
Yeah.
He's down to earth. He's a good football player. He does a lot of good things in and around the Houston area too. But I just like this J.J. Watt guy. I'm on him now. And Howie Long, who I really respect, said he is the biggest defensive disruptor in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that play was what got E.J. Manuel benched.
Right. Yep. And they're bringing in Kyle.
Kyle.
That's pretty funny.
That was probably the play.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, I don't know. Do we have another timeout, Jesse, to go? Do we have another break on our sheet there, Joe? No. We have another break? No? Okay. All right, no more breaks. All right, I wanted to get that last one in before we headed down the home stretch, but we're still good to go. Anything else that sort of jumped off the page at you over the weekend before we do our 5-pack picks and things, Joe?
The only thing, you're looking at Jacksonville, who hasn't won a game yet.
Yeah.
You're looking at Oakland, that hasn't won a game yet. Now, Derek Carr's hurt.
Yeah.
He got hurt. It looks like Matt
McGloin's in the house.
There. He didn't do too bad when he got called into action.
Yeah.
But I think Oakland has a lot more problems than just what they have on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Charles Woodson there. He's speaking out. And I think Dennis Allen's they're on the bye week this week. Them and Miami are on the bye week. I think if not the end of this week or next week or the next loss for the Oakland Raiders, Dennis Allen will be out of a job.
Well, and it's a shame. I mean, I don't know what his credentials were. He came as a coordinator, and Al Davis had a history of hiring some sort of questionable guys. Obviously, he's passed on now, and his family is still taking over the reins there for the Raiders. They've always been one of my favorite teams. I mean, I love those old crazy guys when Snake Stabler and all those guys were there. Like, they just showed up to play football on Sundays, and I just love them. And the old pictures of Sistrunk with his head steam was coming off there, and
Art Shell.
Yeah. Oh my God, they were good.
And we had
they had who was
Clarence Davis.
Who was the pulling guard who later became the commissioner in the NFL, or the head of the union?
Gene Upshaw.
Oh man, Cliff Branch, Biletnikoff, and their defensive backs with Tatum and the Stickum, Lester. I mean, they were unbelievable players, and Ted Hendricks, those guys, they were a lot of fun to watch, and they were always a team that I sort of liked. When they used to play the Steelers, man, those games were like, oh my gosh, broken bones. You still played. You still played with them. So he definitely is on the hot seat, and I'm anxious to see what happens there. But they're almost getting themselves positioned already for the draft next year to see who's going to get who the big picks, whether it's Jameis Winston or the quarterback from Oregon. But you mentioned Oakland 0-4. You mentioned Jacksonville 0-4. They won't take a quarterback. But, the Jets, if Rex Ryan doesn't change that around, that's going to be an ugly situation there. Tampa Bay doesn't look very good. I don't know the St. Louis now with their quarterback situation. Jeff Fisher, who is a well-respected coach, he better start winning some games.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of issue going on down there. But Austin Davis, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but Austin Davis, this kid broke every record at Southern Miss that Brett Favre had. And I don't know if he's going to be the answer or not, but Bradford gets hurt. Every year he's hurt, and I don't think he's had a complete season yet.
And they gave him a big contract, so they got to sort of stay with him a little bit. But, it's sort of interesting how things are unfolding here a little bit.
I'm anxious to see tonight's game with New England and Kansas City. I'm anxious to see Jamal Charles back and see how his knee and his ankle is holding up. And, because they had Niall Davis last week in there for him, and Niall Davis ran for 132 yards and looked pretty good. So, again, running game, Alex Smith, running game. When Alex Smith was in San Fran, he had Frank Gore, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about the running game and setting up setting up the pass.
Well, I'm
so
anxious
it should
to
be
see,
interesting.
I'm anxious to see, too, New England, because Brady called out the offense because they haven't been playing well. You know, Gronk's not 100%, but he's getting closer, according to him. I saw him with an interview with Lisa Salters on ESPN. He said he can do almost anything that he used to be able to do. He's getting back closer to that time. I'm anxious to see how the Andy Reid thing goes and sees what up with him.
Yeah, I think Brady's having a tough time this year because I don't think he has the go. You know,
Right.
You're looking at Danny Amendola, you're
Right.
looking at Justin
Right,
Edelman,
right.
you're looking at the other wide receiver, and I can't think of his name right now. But
that's what I'm saying. They're
these
forgettable.
are guys, right?
They're forgettable.
These are guys that I don't think he has confidence in going to other than Edelman.
Right.
But, you know, you look at he's lost a lot of his receivers. So, you know, they're in trouble. I think
All right.
New England's in trouble.
Well, talking about the Monday night game, let's get our 5-pack picks in, brought to us by Panavino's. Get up there to Reading, see my buddy Dave Brennan, who is the chef and owner of Panavino's. I tell you what, you like Italian cuisine, man, get yourself up there to 25 North 2nd Street. Give them a call there. You see the numbers. But our 5-pack picks are brought to you by Panavino. Check it all out. Last week, I think I went 2-3.
Yes.
And you were 3-2.
Yeah.
What's our year total? Do we have a year total?
I'm 9-6, and it's been three weeks,
Yep.
right? 3 weeks. I'm 9-6, and you were 8-7.
Okay.
You're 8-7.
All right. Well, we'll get rolling here soon. Well, tonight's game. All right, we talked about it briefly. New England at Kansas City is our Monday night game. Who do you like?
I'm going Kansas City.
All right, I'll go New England just to be different. I have a hard time betting against Brady, but I wouldn't be surprised if KC went. A second game all of a sudden. Now the Ravens are at Indianapolis. Andrew Luck is on fire.
Andrew Luck is on fire, and Flacco looked really good yesterday. I'm going to take Indianapolis at home. I'm a big Andrew Luck fan.
So am I. I'm going to go with you on that one. I'm not going to try to buck the system just to be different. I'm going to go Indy as well. Now, here's a good game for us. Arizona at Denver. Arizona at Denver, 4 o'clock or next Sunday, which should be a good one.
Both teams coming off the bye.
Yeah.
I think Arizona, and I like Bruce Arians. Don't get me wrong, I like Bruce Arians. But I think Arizona's a fraud 3-0 team.
You're taking Denver.
I'm taking Denver.
I'm taking Arizona.
All
I'm
right.
taking them. I like them.
You like Drew Stanton?
I do like Drew Stanton. All right, the Bengals now. They're one of the undefeated teams, I believe, right? Bengals are 3-0. Where are they at? Where's Cincinnati? Are they
they're
undefeated?
3-0.
All right, they're 3-0.
Yeah, they're
Bengals
3-0.
are traveling to New England now. New England's going to be on a short week, although this is next Sunday night game. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to New England. Take them on in Foxborough. Who do you like?
Well, you know what? I'm going to take New England.
All right, I'll take Cincy just to be different.
Well, I'm taking New England because they're going to be all coming off of a loss.
I know that. They are going to lose 2 in a row.
Right.
I think they're going to win tonight. And then, of course, the last game is the Rams and the Eagles. Sunday at 1 p.m., which is a good time to watch them. I love those 1 o'clock. We both are taking the Eagles. For sure.
They bounce back.
They bounce back, and again, I don't see Austin Davis being a guy that can lead the brigade to them. All right, Joe. Well, again, I think we had another good week. A lot of fun, a lot of information. Tell your boy Bruce I said thank you for the nice note that he dropped off. I appreciate that, Bruce. We have a lot of good fans out there. A lot of people are watching us here on the PCTV Network Sports Channel, Channel 28. Check the paper out. We have replays every night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. We have replays if you can't catch us live on Monday nights. But he's Joe C. I'm Dave Reinauer. We're the Dynamic Duo, and this has been the Monday Morning Quarterback Show.